Hello students, welcome to my channel Learning History Made Easy. In today's video, I will be explaining the fourth part of model question paper for reduced syllabus. In this part, I will be explaining the last two 5-mark questions and then I will explain match the following in chronological order. The 10-mark question I will explain in the coming videos. So there will be 4 10-mark questions I will explain in the coming videos. So then we will finish the first model paper. After that we will move on to the second model paper. So before going into the video, if anyone is seeing the channel for the first time or if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and share it with your friends. It will be of a great encouragement for me. So without wasting time, let us get into the video. So in today's paper, we are going to see the next 5-mark question. The question is, describe the life and teaching of Ramanujacharya. Life and teaching of Ramanujacharya. This is the next 5-mark question in your model paper. So here the question is having two parts, one is life and one is teaching. So first let us start with the life of Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya was born in 1017th century era at a place called as Sri Perumbudur near Chennai. So birthplace is Sri Perumbudur near Chennai and he was born in 1017th century era. His parents, the next point is the parents of Ramanujacharya. His parents were Keshava Somyaji and Kantimati. So parents of Ramanujacharya was Keshava Somyaji and Kantimati. His wife was Tangamma. Tangamma was his wife. He was discontented with family life and he left his family and became a sannyasi. So after a few years of marriage, he was discontented with family life and later he left his family and he became a sannyasi. So that is how Ramanujacharya entered the life of a sannyasi. So he was born in 1017th century era at Sri Perumbudur near Chennai. Parents were Keshava Somyaji and Kantimati. His wife was Tangamma. He was discontented with his family life and has left his family and he became a sannyasi. The next point is Ramanujacharya later became the head of Srirangam Mad. So Ramanujacharya became the head of Srirangam Mad. This was a great incident in the life of Ramanujacharya. He became the head of Srirangam Mad and Ramanujacharya popularized the principles of Vaishnavism. Vaishnavism was a principle which Ramanujacharya popularized. But during that time, the king was Kulothunga Chola. Kulothunga Chola was the king during that time. He was the king and Kulothunga Chola, he was a Shaiva. He followed the principle of Shaivism, whereas Ramanujacharya was a Vaishnava. So Kulothunga Chola, who was a Shaiva, he did not like Ramanujacharya popularizing Vaishnavism. So when the king was not supporting him, Ramanujacharya left the place and he reached Karnataka. So Ramanujacharya left Tamil Nadu and left Srirangam and he came to Karnataka because in Srirangam the king was not supporting him, king was a Shaiva. So Ramanuja left Srirangam and he came to Karnataka. In Karnataka during that time the king was Vishnuvardhana, the Hoysala ruler Vishnuvardhana, who was the Hoysala ruler. He was the king of Karnataka during that time. So Vishnuvardhana welcomed Ramanujacharya and Ramanujacharya established a Vaishnava Matha at Melukote. So Ramanujacharya was welcomed in Karnataka by the Hoysala ruler Vishnuvardhana, and he established a Vaishnava Matha at Melukote. So Ramanuja became the head of Srirangam Mutt. He popularized the principles of Vaishnavism, which was not liked by Kulothunga Chola, who was a Shaiva. So Ramanujacharya left Srirangam and he came to Karnataka. In Karnataka, that time the king was Vishnuvardhana, who was a Hoysala ruler, and this ruler gave him shelter. And Ramanuja established a Vaishnava Matha at Melukote. So that is how Ramanuja reached Karnataka and he established Vaishnava Matha. Later, Ramanuja returned to Tamil Nadu after the death of Kulothunga. After Kulothunga died. After the death of Kulothunga only, Ramanujacharya returned to Tamil Nadu. Till then, he stayed in Karnataka. Now, some of the important works of Ramanujacharya. One is Vedanta Sara. One is Vedanta Sangraha. Vedanta Sara, Vedanta Sangraha, Gita Bhashya, etc. So all these were the important works of Ramanujacharya. So his important works are Vedanta Sara, Vedanta Sangraha, Gita Bhashya, etc. So these much are the points regarding the life of Ramanujacharya. So we know that the question is in two parts, life and teaching. So now let us move on to the second part of the question, that is the teachings of Ramanujacharya. So we already know that he was a Vaishnava, and Ramanujacharya was a propounder of a philosophy called as Vishishtadvaita. Vishishtadvaita philosophy was a philosophy of Ramanujacharya. So the philosophy of Ramanujacharya, Vishishtadvaita philosophy. The followers of Ramanuja were called as Sri Vaishnavas. Sri Vaishnavas. The followers of Ramanujacharya was called as Sri Vaishnavas because he popularized the Vaishnavas philosophy. Sri Vaishnavas were the followers of Ramanujacharya, and they gave importance to the worship of Sri or Lakshmi. The worship of Sri or Lakshmi was given importance by Sri Vaishnavas. And according to them, God exists and the world is true. So Vishishtadvaita philosophy tells that God exists and the world is true. That was the Vishishtadvaita philosophy. He also considered Paramatma as real. Paramatma was considered as real by Ramanujacharya, and to attain salvation or moksha, he advocated the marga of bhakti. He said that bhakti marga was the only way to attain salvation or moksha. So Ramanujacharya was the propounder of Vishishtadvaita philosophy. The followers of Ramanujacharya were called as Sri Vaishnavas, and they gave importance to the worship of Sri or Lakshmi. According to him, God exists and the world is true. He considered Paramatma as real, and he advocated Bhakti Marga to attain salvation. So according to Ramanujacharya, the only way to attain salvation was Bhakti Marga. And in Ramanujacharya's Bhakti Marga, there were two elements. So in the Bhakti Marga advocated by Ramanujacharya, there were two elements. First is Prapatti. The first element was Prapatti. The meaning of Prapatti is surrender to God. Surrender to God. So Bhakti Marga had two elements. One is Prapatti, surrender to God, and another one is Acharya Abhimana. Acharya Abhimana, that is subjugation to Guru. Subjugation to Guru. So these were the two elements of Bhakti Marga of Ramanujacharya. One is Prapatti, that is surrendering yourselves to God, and second one is Acharya Abhimana, that is subjugation to Guru. According to Ramanujacharya, temple entry was allowed to all devotees. So allowed to all devotees. Temple entry was allowed to all devotees irrespective of their birth. That is, whatever caste you are in, temple entry was allowed according to Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya called untouchables, that is, lower class were considered to be untouchables. During that time, the Shudra caste were considered to be untouchables. So Ramanujacharya said that temple entry was allowed for everyone, and he called untouchables as Tirukulatar, or he called them as Sri Hari Kula, So he considered the lower caste people as belonging to the Kula of Sri Hari. So they belong to the Kula of God Sri Hari. So that is how he considered untouchables. He called them Tirukulatar or Sri Hari Kula. So Ramanujacharya's Bhakti Marga consisted of two elements: Prapatti, surrender to God, and Acharya Abhimana, subjugation to Guru. Temple entry was allowed to all devotees irrespective of their birth, and he called untouchables as Sri Hari Kula or Tirukulatar. So this was about the teachings of Ramanujacharya. So this is the 5-mark questions answer, life and teaching of Ramanujacharya. Let us see the points once more. Describe the life and teachings of Ramanujacharya. He was born in 1017th century era in Sri Perumbadur near Chennai. His parents were Keshava Somyaji and Kantimati. His wife was Tangamma. He was discontented with family life and left his family and became a sannyasi. He became the head of Sri Rangam Mutt and popularized Vaishnavism. Kulothunga Chola, who was a Shaiva, did not like this. Ramanuja left Sri Rangam and came to Karnataka. Vishnuvardhana, the Hoysala king, gave him shelter. He established Vaishnava Mata at Melukote. He returned to Tamil Nadu after the death of Kulothunga. His important works are Vedanta Sara, Vedanta Sangraha, Gita Bhashya, etc. Now regarding his teachings, he was the propounder of Vishishtadvaita philosophy. His followers were called as Sri Vaishnavas, and they gave importance to the worship of Sri or Lakshmi. According to him, God exists and the world is true. He considered Paramatma as real. He advocated Bhakti Marga to attain salvation. The two elements in Bhakti Marga are Prapatti, surrender to God, and Acharya Abhimana, subjugation to Guru. Temple entry was allowed to all devotees irrespective of their birth. He considered untouchables as Tirukulatar or Sri Hari Kula. So this is the 5-mark answer. So the last 5-mark question is, describe or briefly discuss the unification movement of Karnataka. Unification movement of Karnataka. So this is the last 5-mark question in this model paper. Discuss the unification movement of Karnataka. So let us see the points. The Kannada speaking regions were under Madras and Bombay presidency. So after the independence, the Kannada speaking regions were under the Madras and the Bombay presidencies. Now there was a question of state reorganization, and that time these Kannada speaking regions were under Madras and Bombay presidencies, and the rest were under princely states of Mysore, Hyderabad, etc. Okay, so all these people, the rest of the places were under Mysore, Hyderabad, etc. So now they also wanted unification. That is, these Kannada speaking people also wanted a unification. And there were many factors which brought about unity among the people. So what were these factors? The first thing was there were many newspapers. Newspapers like Samyukta Karnataka, another newspaper Vishala Karnataka. All these newspapers gave an inspiration to the people for unification. So newspapers like Samyukta Karnataka, Vishala Karnataka, etc. played an important part in unification. So there were many factors, that is, Kannada speaking regions were under Madras and Bombay presidencies and rest were under Mysore, Hyderabad, etc. princely states. They wanted unification. There were many factors which brought about unification. The first factor is newspapers like Samyukta Karnataka, Vishala Karnataka, etc. played an important part in bringing a unity among the people. Next is there were many institutions. There were many institutions like Kannada Sahitya Parishad, Karnataka Vidyavardhaka Sangha, and all these institutions also supported unification. So all these institutions also supported the unification of Karnataka. So other than newspaper, there were many institutions like Kannada Sahitya Parishad, then Karnataka Vidyavardhaka Sangha. So all these supported the unification. That was another factor. Later, there were many poets whose works also inspired people. Many poets' works also supported the unification. There were many poets and their works also supported the unification movement. Now Gandhiji accepted the formation of linguistic states during the Belgaum Congress session in 1924. So everyone wanted unification and there were many factors which supported the unification. And that time Gandhiji he accepted the formation of linguistic states, that is states based on languages. So here also Kannada speaking people wanted to unify, so he supported the formation of linguistic states and he accepted this in the Belgaum session in 1924. So this happened in the Belgaum session in 1924. So Gandhiji accepted the formation of linguistic states in the Belgaum session of 1924. So that was a positive move towards the formation or the reorganization of states. Alur Venkatarao, he was a very famous poet. Alur Venkatarao, he wrote a very famous work, that is Karnataka Gata Vaibhava. This book developed a unification spirit among the people, developed a unification spirit among the people of Karnataka. The people were so inspired by the book and they developed a unification spirit among the people. Alur Venkatarao's very famous book Karnataka Gata Vaibhava developed a unification spirit among the people. Then there were many leaders who fought for the unification of Karnataka, that is the leaders like S. Nijalingappa, then Andanappa Doddameti. All these leaders fought for the unification of Karnataka. After all these leaders' efforts, the central government appointed Dhar Committee. So there was a committee appointed. This was appointed in 1948 to look into the reorganization of states. So to look into the matter of reorganization of states, the central government appointed Dhar Committee. This was the first important thing. Dhar Committee appointed in 1948 to look into the matter of reorganization of state. So Dhar committee was appointed and discussions happened, but this committee, so Dhar committee, it did not agree, or it discouraged the formation of linguistic states. So Dhar committee discouraged formation of linguistic states. It did not encourage the formation of states based on languages. Later, another committee was appointed, that is JVP committee, that is Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel and Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, three of them together, JVP committee. This Dhar committee was in 1948 and JVP committee was in 1949. This JVP committee agreed the formation of Andhra. So JVP committee agreed the formation of Andhra, but they did not agree, or they refused the formation of Karnataka. So JVP, after Dhar committee discouraged the formation of linguistic states, but later JVP committee in 1949, they agreed the formation of Andhra, but they refused the formation of Karnataka. When they refused the formation of Karnataka, the famous leader Andanappa Doddametti, he was a very famous leader. He was a senior Congress leader. He started a fast demanding the unification of Kannada speaking people. So he started a fast demanding unification of Kannada speaking people. So Andanappa Doddametti started fast, and the fast was demanding the unification of Kannada speaking people. And finally another committee was formed, that is State Reorganization Committee. State Reorganization Committee. This committee was formed in 1953. It was also called as Fazal Ali Committee. Fazal Ali Committee, because Fazal Ali was the chairman of the committee, that is why it was also called as Fazal Ali Committee. So finally a State Reorganization Committee was formed in 1953. It was also called as Fazal Ali Committee because Fazal Ali was the chairman of the committee. And the State Reorganization Committee, or Fazal Ali Committee, submitted its final report in 1955. So first, Dhar committee appointed, it discouraged the formation of linguistic states. Second, JVP committee, it agreed the formation of Andhra but refused Karnataka. Then Andanappa Doddametti started fast, and that time State Reorganization Committee was formed in 1953. Fazal Ali was the chairman, and finally Fazal Ali Committee submitted its report in 1955. And the committee's recommendations finally were implemented on 1st November 1956, and according to the committee, it brought about a reorganized Mysore state. Reorganized Mysore state was formed according to the Fazal Ali Committee or State Reorganization Committee on 1st November 1956. This new reorganized Mysore, this state was called as New Mysore State. Reorganized state was called as New Mysore State, and this New Mysore State was formed 1956 November 1st. It consisted of 19 districts. The New Mysore State consisted of 19 districts, and S. Nijalingappa was the first chief minister. S. Nijalingappa was the first CM of the New Mysore State or the United Mysore State. This New Mysore State, it was later renamed as Karnataka. Okay, it was later renamed as Karnataka on 1st November 1973. So first it was New Mysore State or United Mysore State. Later it was renamed as Karnataka on 1st November 1973, and the chief minister that time was Devaraja Uras. Devaraja Uras was the chief minister. So on 1st November, the committee's recommendation was implemented on 1st November 1956, and it brought the reorganized Mysore state into existence. It was called as New Mysore State, and it consisted of 19 districts. S. Nijalingappa was the first chief minister of United Mysore State, and this was renamed as Karnataka on 1st November 1973. Okay, 1st November 1973, and the chief minister was Devaraja Uras. So this is the answer regarding the unification movement of Karnataka. So now let us see the points once more. Briefly discuss the unification movement of Karnataka. The Kannada speaking regions were under Madras and Bombay presidencies, and the rest under the princely states of Mysore, Hyderabad, etc. They also wanted unification. Many factors were responsible for bringing unity. Newspapers like Samyukta Karnataka, Vishala Karnataka, etc. played an important part. Institutions like Karnataka Vidyavardhaka Sangha, Kannada Sahitya Parishad, and also works of many poets supported the unification movement. Gandhiji also accepted the formation of linguistic states during the Belgaum Congress session in 1924. Alur Venkat Rao's book Karnataka Gada Vaibhava developed unification spirit among the people. Many leaders like S. Nijalingappa, Andanappa Doddametti, etc. fought for the unification. The central government appointed the Dhar Committee in 1948 to look into the reorganization of states. But this committee discouraged the formation of linguistic states. The JVP committee was formed in 1949, and they agreed to the formation of Andhra but refused the formation of Karnataka. Andanappa Doddametti, who was a senior Congress leader, started fast demanding the unification of Kannada-speaking regions. Finally, the States Reorganization Committee was formed in 1953. It consisted of Fazal Ali as chairman, and H.N. Kundru and K.M. Panikar were its members. It submitted its report in 1955. The committee's recommendations were implemented on 1st November 1956, bringing the reorganized Mysore state into existence. It was called as the New Mysore State. New United Mysore State, formed in 1956 November 1st, consisted of 19 districts. S. Nijalingappa was the first chief minister of the New Mysore State. This was renamed as Karnataka on 1st November 1973. The chief minister was Devaraja Uras. So these two are the final 5-mark questions in this model paper. So the next question is match the following. First one, Ptolemy, he wrote the work Geography. Gautama Buddha, Tathagata. Alauddin Khilji, he introduced a system of branding horses called as Dag system. Akbar, Buland Darwaza, and Mahatma Gandhi, Khilafat movement. The 37th question is arrange the following in chronological order. I have arranged it in the correct order. The correct order I will tell. Advent of Aryans to India about 2000 BC. Gupta era commenced from 320 century era. First Battle of Terrain 1191 century era. Birth of Akbar 1542, and second round table conference 1931. This is the correct chronological order. So I have completed 1 mark, 2 mark, 5 mark and match the following in chronological order. Now what is left in this model paper is 10 mark questions. Those 10 mark questions I will be completing in the next 2 videos. So by that we will complete 1 full model paper. So I hope you have understood all the question and answers very clearly. Please revise with me as I am uploading videos, so it will be easy for you. And the next video I will tell about the 10 mark question. If you have any doubts regarding these questions, you can ask in the comment section. Please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Your likes and comments will be of a great encouragement for me to make more videos. So I hope to see you soon in the next video. Thank you for watching.